I arrived at my parents' house carrying the honey lavender cake in both hands, praying the evening would stay quiet. It was my mother Betty's birthday, and the dining room was already full cousins, neighbors, church friends, 18 people, all talking over one another. I slipped into a chair at the end of the table, doing what I had always done, making myself small. My brother Wesley stood near the head of the table, swirling his wine like he was the host of a gala instead of a family dinner. He tapped the glass with a fork. The room quieted immediately. "To Mom," he said, raising his glass, "and to the Quinn House coffee shop. Asheville loves us because of one person, me." A ripple of polite laughter passed through the room. Wesley turned toward me with a smile so rehearsed it shined. "And to my sister Marlo," he added, "who signed a few papers so she could feel useful." The laughter sharpened. A couple of my mother's friends actually looked away, embarrassed for me. My mother covered her mouth to hide her grin. My father, Harold, shook his head like he was amused by something sweet and harmless. I felt the words hit like a slap, but I stayed still. I had learned long ago that reacting only fed the performance. So I pushed back my chair, stood, and said, "Mom, happy birthday. I hope the cake tastes good." Wesley chuckled. "Leaving already? The night just got interesting." "It did," I replied. "Just not for me." I walked out before anyone could add another comment. Outside, the air was cool, soft against my face. If you are still with me, tell me where you're listening from. I want to know how far this story travels. The morning after the dinner, I found my father Harold at the kitchen table, pretending to read the paper. He did not look up when I walked in. "So," he said finally, "you know your brother did not mean anything by it." I leaned against the counter. He meant every word. Harold folded the paper slowly. "Wesley carries the family name differently. People expect things from him. People expect stability," I answered. "That is what I give." He sighed, like my existence exhausted him. "You are too sensitive." "Marlo, Wesley just has a way of lighting up a room. He lights it up by dimming me," I said. My mother Betty stepped in, tightening her robe. "Please, Marlo, do not start drama. Your brother is under enough pressure," from what I asked quietly. Betty's lips thinned. "From being who he is." I nodded once, the truth settling in. The pressure started 2 years before that birthday dinner, on an afternoon when my mother Betty called and said, "Come by the house. We need to talk." Her tone told me the decision had already been made. When I arrived, my father, Harold, and my brother Wesley were already seated at the dining table. Wesley looked excited, bouncing his knee like a child about to open a gift. Harold began. A storefront opened on Haywood Road. Perfect for a little coffee shop. This could be Wesley's chance. Wesley grinned. My moment. Marlo. Finally. I waited, knowing the catch was coming. Betty leaned forward. "The bank will approve the loan if it is in your name. $85,000. You have steady work. Good credit. It makes sense." I stared at her. "You want me to take on the debt." "It is not debt," she insisted. "It is an investment in your brother's future," Wesley added. "You would not even have to do anything. I will run the whole place." Harold tapped the table. "Families lift each other up. Your brother needs this more than you do."
I felt the walls close in, that familiar roll tightening around my ribs. The responsible one, the reliable one, the one who never said no, against every instinct. I said softly, "All right, I will sign." Wesley exhaled like he had just won something.
"You will not regret it," he said. But even then, I knew I would. From the moment Quinn House Coffee opened its doors, Wesley acted like the town had been waiting for him. He shook every hand, remembered every name, and told every customer, "I built this place from the ground up. People believed him because he said it loudly and often. I worked in the back office after my hospital shifts, sorting invoices and organizing payroll. One evening, as I typed in the week's numbers, Wesley leaned against the doorway with a smirk. "You know," he said, "people really love the vibe I created." I kept typing. "The suppliers called twice today. You forgot to confirm the dairy order again." He waved a hand. "Details. Marlo, you are good at those. I bring the energy. That energy does not pay the bills," I said. He laughed. "Relax. You should be grateful. Without me, you would not be part of something this special." My mother, Betty, began stopping by most mornings. She would touch Wesley's arm and say loudly, "My son has such vision. He built this beautiful place. If someone glanced toward me," she added lightly, "Marlo helps with the spreadsheets when she has time." Wesley never corrected her. He only sipped his latte and looked proud. One afternoon, after she left, I said, "You could tell her the truth." Wesley shrugged. "Why this story works better for everyone." He walked away before I could answer. I first learned what Wesley had been saying about me from Mrs. Whitby, the florist whose shop shared a wall with ours. She stopped me outside one afternoon, her hands still dusty with pollen. "Marlo," she said softly, "I thought you should know. Your brother has been telling people you only signed the loan to feel important, that you did not really contribute." My jaw tightened. He said that. She hesitated. More than once, loud enough for customers to hear, inside the cafe. Wesley was laughing with a group of regulars. When he spotted me, he called out, "Hey, sis, did you finish those little forms you like doing?" The men around him chuckled. I walked past him without answering, but he stepped into my path. "You should smile more," he said. "People think you are jealous." "I am tired." "Wesley," I replied. He grinned. "Same thing." The first irregular charge I noticed was a boutique purchase for $340. Then another, and another. Within a week of digging, I found nearly $2,000 of personal spending, barber visits, clothing, wine, a weekend cabin rental in Gatlinburg costing $720. Then the worst of it, a $3,000 crypto transfer I never authorized. I confronted my mother, Betty, first. She was stirring soup when I laid the statements on the counter. "These are from the cafe account," I said. "Wesley is using business money for himself." Betty barely glanced at the papers. "Your brother has been under pressure. Let him breathe." "This is theft," I replied. She stiffened. "Do not use such harsh words. A little flexibility keeps a family together." Later that evening, I approached my father, Harold, in the living room. He muted the television with a sigh. "Dad, Wesley is draining the business. It is all here." He skimmed a single sheet before handing it back. "Marlo, you always get dramatic about numbers. A family does not keep score. I am asking for accountability." I said. "You are asking for trouble." He corrected. When I returned to my apartment, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open to every bank record, invoice, and supplier contract. The truth was plain without my work. The cafe would have collapsed months earlier. Wesley had been gambling with money tied to my name. I began saving documents into a folder labeled Quinn House Evidence. Not out of anger, out of clarity. I called an attorney the next morning. I arrived at Quinn House. Coffee before sunrise. The sky still a muted gray. The folder in my hand felt heavier than paper should. When Wesley unlocked the front door a few minutes later, he looked startled to see me sitting at a corner table. "You are early," he said, forcing a laugh. "Trying to impress someone, I need to talk to you," I replied. "Sit down." He hesitated, then dropped into the chair across from me, arms crossed. This better not be another spreadsheet lecture. I placed the folder between us and opened it. These are the financial records from the last 6 months. Every personal purchase you charged to the business. Every withdrawal. Every gambling transfer. His smile cracked. So what I built this place. You deserve accountability. I cut in. The cafe is an LLC. I am the 70% owner. I am revoking your access to all accounts effective today. The bank has already been notified. Wesley's face flushed red. You cannot do that. I already have. He shoved back his chair. You are sabotaging me. You are jealous. You always have been. I stayed seated. I am protecting myself from your negligence. And from the debt tied to my name. The door flew open and my mother Betty rushed in. My father Harold close behind her. Wesley had clearly called them. Marlo, Betty cried, you cannot treat your brother like this. He is your family. He has been stealing, I said calmly. Harold jabbed a finger toward me. You are tearing this family apart to prove a point. I looked at all three of them. Something inside me, settling for the first time. If unity requires my silence, I said, then it was never unity. It was servitude. Betty covered her mouth. Harold stepped back. Wesley stared like he had never seen me before. You will regret this, Wesley whispered. No, I said, standing. This time, I will not. I left the folder on the table and walked out as the sun finally broke over Haywood Road. It took less than 1 week for Wesley to lose control of the cafe. By the second morning, our lead barista handed in her notice. I cannot work under him. She told me outside, voice low. He keeps yelling, and nothing is organized. Inside, Wesley slammed cups and barked orders loud enough for customers to glance at the door before walking away. He caught me watching once and sneered, Happy now. This is what you wanted. I wanted responsibility. I said, You wanted applause. He scoffed and turned his back. By week 3, 2 suppliers froze deliveries because payments were late. Wesley stormed into my apartment that night without knocking. Fix it, he demanded. Call them and explain. No, I replied. It is your business now. His voice cracked with rage. You are abandoning your own family. I am stepping out of the role you forced on me. He left, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. Word spread through Asheville quickly. Customers whispered to each other, He seems overwhelmed. Quinn House used to feel warm. By week 5, the 10-year-old espresso machine broke down during a morning rush one Wesley had refused to service. The repair company charged a $4,500 penalty, and Wesley cursed my name across the counter in front of customers. No one argued. No one believed him anymore. 7 weeks after I revoked his access, the windows stayed dark. A handwritten sign on the door read, Closed until further notice. But everyone in town knew the truth. There would be no notice. The cafe had fallen exactly the way it was built, on uneven ground. And loudly, I moved out quietly, the way I had lived most of my life. I packed boxes at night after work, stacking them neatly against the wall of my small apartment. When I signed the lease for a place in Black Mountain, the agent smiled and said, Fresh start? I nodded. That was all the explanation I had in me. On my last morning in Asheville, I stopped by the empty cafe one final time. The windows were dark, chairs stacked, air stale. Wesley was inside, pacing the floor. He looked thinner, angrier, like someone had taken the spotlight he depended on to breathe. He noticed me and stiffened. So, you are here to gloat? No, I said. I came to collect my files. He laughed, but it sounded brittle. You ruined everything. I picked up the last box from the office. I stopped holding up what you kept breaking. You are heartless, he said. I learned it from all of you, I replied softly. My mother Betty walked in behind him, her eyes swollen. Marlo, please, talk to us. The cafe can still. It cannot, I said. And even if it could, I would not. Harold stepped forward, jaw tight. After everything we gave you, I met his eyes. You gave me obligations, not love. He looked away first. I walked out carrying the box, feeling the first real breath I had taken in months. Black Mountain was quieter, softer. My new apartment had sunlight that fell in long strips across the floor. I unpacked slowly, placing one small card on the windowsill, a watercolor note from my friend Tessa that read, "Because you always make things better." It reminded me that not every part of my past was poisoned, just the parts I kept trying to fix. As I set the card down, I whispered, "This time, I make things better for myself. If you are still with me, tell me where you're listening from. I hope the story finds you exactly when you need it to."